What if I told you that the man behind one of India's most iconic tech startups may have just pulled off one of the most clever or controversial moves in Indian corporate history? A move that's perfectly legal, but one that could quietly shift millions in royalty income from a public company into his personal pocket. This is the story of Bhavish Agarwal, Ola, and the alleged transfer of one of India's most valuable brand names from a struggling ride-hailing company to his own family office. It's a story about power, control, and what startup founders can get away with when no one's watching, and it might be a disaster in the making. Ola started as India's answer to homegrown ride-hailing. Launched in 2010 by Bhavish Agarwal and Ankit Patti under ANI Technologies, it was a disruptor that put cabs in your pocket. Within years, Ola dominated the Indian market, riding high on investor money and urban mobility demand. But Bhavish had bigger plans: clean energy, AI, and maps. In 2019, Ola Electric was spun out of Ola Cabs to become a standalone company. This was more than just a new EV play. It was the beginning of a complex web of licensing deals and royalty payments tied to one very valuable asset, the Ola brand. Here's how it worked. ANI Technologies, the parent of Ola Cabs, legally owned the Ola brand, the name, the logo, and all related IP. When Ola Electric became a separate entity, it didn't get the brand for free. Instead, it signed a licensing agreement with ANI, allowing it to use the name in exchange for royalties. This wasn't a one-off. Similar arrangements existed for other spin-offs like Krutrim AI, Ola's generative AI unit, and Ola Maps. Why does that matter? Because ANI's core ride-hailing business has been declining for years, and the royalty income from these deals became one of its few steady revenue streams. For ANI, this setup was a lifeline. But for Bhavish, it was an opportunity. Fast forward to now. Multiple reports suggest that Bhavish Agarwal has moved the ownership of the Ola brand IP to his personal family office. Think about what that means. The royalties that once went to ANI Technologies, helping prop up a declining ride-hailing business, would now flow directly to Bhavish. Even worse, ANI would now have to pay Bhavish, its own founder, to continue using the brand it built. If true, this fundamentally shifts the economics of the group, not in favor of investors, but in favor of the founder. Let's break down who stands to lose the most. First, ANI Technologies, the core business trying to launch an IPO since 2018. It's already bleeding market share across cabs, autos, and bike services. Now it may lose a key income stream too. Second, investors, both private and potential public, who've been backing ANI based on a certain revenue model that included those royalties. Third, employees and executives whose incentives and trust could be shaken. And finally, retail investors who may buy into the IPO, unaware that the brand value has quietly exited the company's balance sheet. This is not a small shift. It's structural. This isn't the first time a charismatic founder has bent companies' structure in their favor. Bhavish Agarwal has also seen his fair share of controversies: employee exits, governance flags, investigations into Ola Electric's manufacturing practices. There's a pattern here. In India's tech scene, founder control is often absolute, and governance frequently comes second. Now, the obvious question, is any of this illegal? Not necessarily. Founders often retain or transfer IP, especially if they were the original creators. In the absence of clear shareholder agreements or board resistance, this can pass without legal hurdles. But legality isn't the issue, trust is. When a company is gearing up for public investment, transparency matters. If a founder is quietly siphoning brand value while presenting the company as IPO ready, investors deserve to know. So where does that leave us? Bhavish Agarwal might be playing 4D chess, positioning himself to benefit no matter which of his ventures wins. But for ANI Technologies, its IPO future just got murkier. Investors may start asking hard questions about value, control, and governance, and the Indian tech ecosystem. It risks a reputation hit if stories like this continue unchecked. So here's the question I leave you with. Should startup founders be allowed to shift brand ownership to personal entities, especially when public money is on the line? Or is it time India enforced stronger governance rules before the next IPO bubble bursts? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into Indian tech's biggest stories.